Just days after Israel strikes on Hamas leaders in Doha, Arab and Islamic countries condemned what they called a barbaric attack which infringed on the sovereignty of Qatar. The Qatari Prime Minister met with foreign ministers from Islamic countries in response to Israel's strike. He had also met with President Trump on the sidelines of the United Nations that is convening later this month, of course, in New York. The Netanyahu government is facing global condemnation. It's also increasingly under pressure from the families of hostages who want their loved ones to be returned as soon as possible. I dig a little deeper into the various pressure points, both external and internal, in Netanyahu's never-ending wars. US President Donald Trump met with the Qatari Prime Minister on Friday just before an emergency summit of Arab states in response to Israel's deadly strikes targeting Hamas in Doha this past week. The meeting between Trump and the Qatari Prime Minister, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, took place in New York, where Trump was visiting for the 9/11 anniversary. The Israeli attack on a residential compound in Doha, the capital of Qatar, has unsettled the Persian Gulf states, which have long seen Washington as the main security guarantor in the region. Qatar is a key American ally. It hosts the biggest American military base in the Middle East. And more importantly, Qatar was also acting as a mediator in the ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas. In fact, Qatar was hosting the political leadership of the Palestinian terror group Hamas at the request and at the behest of the United States. And it is the political leadership of Hamas that was targeted in the Israeli strike on sovereign Qatari soil. Sheikh Mohammed, the Qatari Prime Minister, has called the Israeli strikes in Doha as an act of state terror.
كانت بارقة الأمل النادرة في هذا النزاع الدامي، غير أن الاعتداء على أرضنا خلال انشغالنا بالوساطة كشف بوضوح عن نوايا إسرائيل المبيتة لإجهاض أي مسعى نحو السلام.
An emergency summit of Arab leaders is happening in the Qatari capital over the weekend. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel has framed the Israeli strike as retaliation for the Hamas-led attack, which happened on the 7th of October 2023. In that attack, hundreds of Israelis were either killed or many of them were abducted.
At noon today, I convened the heads of Israel's security organizations and authorized a surgical precision strike on the terrorist chiefs of Hamas. These are the same terrorist chiefs who planned, launched, and celebrated the horrific massacres of October 7th.
The US-Qatar talks came on the same day that the United Nations General Assembly passed a non-binding resolution in support of a two-state solution between Israel and Palestine. That is something that Netanyahu's government has opposed tooth and nail. Sheikh Mohammed addressed an emergency meeting at the UN Security Council in New York about the Israeli strike in Doha. In fact, the UN Security Council members unanimously condemned the attack in a statement that was endorsed by the United States, in fact, which in itself is a rarity because usually America refrains from criticizing Israel at the United Nations. Sheikh Mohammed told the meeting that Israel had crossed a line and now it had become almost impossible to predict what his country might do next. President Trump has also distanced himself from the Israeli strike. He says that the decision to bomb a residential complex in Doha was made by Netanyahu alone and he had no role in it. In fact, Trump said that he was very unhappy about the incident and that the strikes did not advance either Israel or America's goals in the region.
Well, I'm not thrilled. I'm not thrilled about it. I don't have to do that. I'm not thrilled about the whole situation. It's not a good situation. But I will say this, we want the hostages back, but we are not thrilled about the way that went down today.
The attack has also sparked anger among other Gulf Arab states in the Persian Gulf. The United Arab Emirates and its foreign ministry on Friday summoned one of the top Israeli diplomats in Abu Dhabi and denounced the attack. But that was not the only attack that Israel carried out this past week. The Israeli military also attacked several sites in Yemen just a day after the Qatar attack. Israel says that all the sites that were attacked in Yemen were connected to the Houthis, who are a terror group that is backed by Iran. A spokesman for the Houthis said at least 35 people had been killed in the strikes and more than 100 injured, but those figures could not be independently verified. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel says the attacks were in part a response to the Houthi drone attack that shut down an airport in southern Israel for several hours earlier in the week.
לפני ימים אחדים חיסלנו את רוב חברי ממשלת הטרור של החות'ים. בתגובה החות'ים ירו לפני יומיים על שדה תעופה רמון. זה לא ריפא את ידינו. אנחנו הכינו בהם היום, מן האוויר שוב, במתקני הטרור שלהם, בבסיסי טרור, עם הרבה מאוד טרוריסטים וגם עם מתקנים אחרים. אנחנו נמשיך ונכה. כל מי שמכה בנו, כל מי שתוקף אותנו, אנחנו נגיע אליו.
The Iran-backed Houthi terror proxies are originally a rebel group. They've now got control of large parts of northern Yemen, including the capital Sana'a, since a civil war broke out there a decade ago. The Houthis began firing missiles and drones at Israel, as well as at shipping lanes in the Red Sea. The group said it was acting in solidarity with Hamas, which is also backed by Iran. Israel has repeatedly bombed Houthi targets in retaliation. Netanyahu's government has been more aggressive than ever in its recent attacks. It's been attacking enemies across the region. In addition to waging a devastating war in Gaza for almost 2 years now, it invaded Lebanon last year to fight the Iran-backed terror group Hezbollah. Israel then bombed Iran for 12 days back in June, and it has carried out strikes and ground incursions in Syria as well. It also comes at a time when Netanyahu's government is increasingly facing flak for the almost never-ending war in Gaza. He's launched the latest final drive to clear Gaza City of the remaining vestiges of Hamas terror. Netanyahu's government is also increasingly under pressure from the hostages' families for not getting the remaining abductees back. Israel believes there are about 20 out of the remaining 50 hostages who are still alive in Gaza. Netanyahu has said that any peace offer must necessarily involve releasing all the hostages all at once. Hamas, though, fears that releasing all the hostages will rid it of any remaining leverage that it has left at all. That's where the ceasefire talks have been stuck, something that Qatar, among other mediators, was trying to break the deadlock, but not anymore, certainly not after the Doha attack this past week, which Qatar sees as an infringement on its sovereignty.